Hello FPL managers, welcome back to the channel. It's been a while since the last video. Was working on the graphics and was researching on some more FPL related stuff to assist you with your fantasy teams. I hope you like the new intro, would appreciate your feedback on the new graphics. So in this video, as promised on my Twitter handle, I'll start with discussing the transfer plans, then I've prepared a free hit draft for all of you, and at the end we look at the way I choose the transfer targets and how helpful the stats are in picking the potential options. Before I start, if you're new here, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. I've also started podcasting and you can find the link to that below in the description along with all the other social links. Let's kick things off. So this is the current situation and I've got some injury concerns in my team. I had 4 double game week players and with Son now out for about a month, I've got only 3. The rest of the team has some potential fixtures and I am expecting a good score in Gameweek 22. Son looks like the only player I would have to get rid of. He's obviously an expensive asset and I cannot bench his injury out. Let's look at some of the potential options to replace him and some early transfer thoughts. I have 0.1 million in the bank already and selling Son would leave me with a total of 10.7 million. James Maddison is the first tempting option that comes to my mind. He has got double fixtures in Gameweek 22 and has been extremely threatening attackingly in his current form. In his last 5 game weeks, he has also returned 40 points and has blanked twice in those 5 game weeks. An expected goal ratio of 3.38 and the XA of 2.60 make him an option to consider for the upcoming game weeks. The problem with bringing Maddison is that after Gameweek 23, the fixtures are mixed and they do not look very easy. Of course, with a strong team, he could be benched in tough fixtures. Mason Mount from Chelsea could be an option to consider as Son's replacement, but his form hasn't been that great lately. In his last 5 fixtures, he has only returned 1 goal versus Everton and 1 assist versus Brighton. Another reason why I wouldn't prefer using the free transfer on a Chelsea player currently is because of the 2 blank game weeks in Gameweek 24 and 25, so that pretty much cancels out the probability of bringing in Mount. Raheem Sterling looks like a solid candidate to replace Son. Sterling has been starting games and has returned 42 points in his last 5 games. He did miss games versus Leeds and Leicester due to Pep Rowlett, but that has been the case with every Man City player except for Cancelo. KDB also looks like a rotation-proof player, but he's expensive and not in the greatest of forms. After facing Chelsea in Gameweek 22, Man City has some exciting fixtures till Gameweek 31. Lastly, in short run, Lookman can be considered as Leicester is out of attacking options. Lookman is cheaper than rest of the options discussed as he is priced around 6 million. In his last 2 games, he has scored goals and will start up front probably in the double game week 2. So these are some current options to consider in order to replace Son. An advice would be to hold your transfer and use it on the deadline day. There might still be some more injuries coming our way with COVID on the rise. Alright, now it's time for the updated free hit draft. I'll start with my verdict on this. The double game week even though sounds fascinating but looks a bit off. We do not have a lot of options, specifically the midfield options do not excite me. I would prefer you hold your wildcards for now until and unless it is pretty necessary. Starting with the goalkeeper first, I'd prefer De Gea in goal. Comparing to the other options we have for the double game week, De Gea has been pretty busy in goal. He often gets extra points for the amount of saves he makes per game. The Villa fixture won't be an easy one, but Brentford could be the one where we could see a clean sheet. I always prefer to go with back 3 and at the back in this draft I've got Ta as the first one. Liverpool has a single fixture but I prefer keeping him over a Chelsea defender because of their fixture versus City, and secondly Ta has an easy fixture comparing to Chelsea. Trent has been involved in goals for Liverpool throughout and he is always threatening with the number of crosses he makes per game. Eric Dyer is the second one and the main reason I've picked him is that his starting minutes are guaranteed. Apart from those own goals this week in the Carabao Cup, Spurs aren't a weak defensive side and against some balanced sides they do keep clean sheets. Reguilon would come to your mind obviously as he's got an attacking threat, but the only reason I chose Dyer over Reguilon is that Reguilon has been getting benched by Doherty, who has had some impact in previous games. So if you bring in a double game week player and he doesn't start one game, things pretty much go out of balance. Alonso is the third one in as Chelsea has a double game week and with Chilwell out, he is the only viable option to go for. Hopefully he might get us attacking returns. Moving on to the midfield, there is a Leicester double up in it. Maddison has been playing the main role in Leicester's attack for quite some time now. With Vardy and Iheanacho missing, he will now be up ahead and will go for scoring too, including the chance creation that he normally does. Lookman is included in for the same reason, as Leicester's attack will now be dependent only on a few available players. Lookman looks to be in form and has just scored 2 goals in his previous 2 games. Bowen keeps his place against a defensive sloppy Leeds side, and in order to replace Son in the midfield, I am forced to go for Fernandes. He is the only one who has a lesser chance of being rotated. Of course, Rashford and Sancho are more attacking threats, but they might just start in one of the 2 games United will play in Gameweek 22. At last, the forward line will be loaded with a full 3. Harry Kane comes into the side for the double game week. His penalty duties always give him an advantage. In the previous few game weeks, there has been a little spark in him, and things do indicate that he might end up getting his form back sooner. Dennis will make his return after a knock he picked up in his last fixture. He has a habit of scoring against big teams and has been the guy scoring goals for Watford. King is on the penalty duties, but he usually plays the role of creating chances while Dennis runs in behind and deals with the final finishing. If you fancy King, you can obviously go for him. Lastly, it's the GOAT who takes up his spot as a third forward in this draft. If he is in form, there are no difficult fixtures for him. He has been involved in majority of goals for United since he has joined the Devils. On the bench, I have these options. Burn is the only one with the double fixtures. In case of any injury or COVID issue, he might come in. The free hit is usually a 1 game week punt, so I haven't invested heavily on the bench. This is the complete free hit draft that I've prepared. Now let's move on to the bonus stuff, in which I'll try to explain to you how to identify potential options using the passing maps and the season stats. So recently I've been talking a lot about Maddison. The reason I've identified him is firstly because while watching Leicester play, I could see him getting involved in most of their attacks. He's creating chances and feeding the ball to the attackers running ahead. Secondly, I use the passing map to identify the involvement of the player in the game. It also enables me to identify his positions and his style of play. To make things easier for you, I've picked out the passing maps from Leicester's 2 previous games. This one is versus Liverpool, and you could see Maddison visible as a bridge between the defensive and the attacking line. Now if you look at Vardy, it's common knowledge that with or without the ball, he will run forward to score. This many arrows indicate the spread and show that he will always run forward to cover the areas ahead. With Iheanacho, the case is different. He will stick to wing, and the 2 short arrows with him indicate his job of drifting wide on that wing and cutting in. Similarly, you could clearly see the spread of James Maddison and look at the way he is covering the whole midfield. From left to right or right to left, and even as the attacking midfielder, he will move in to receive the ball. This will allow him to create many chances. Keeping this in mind, let's just head towards his stats for the season. For the stats, you can really look onto any website. I use whoscoredandinfogol.net. We can see the number of assists and the goals he has scored. He's pretty good at doing 1-2 in the final half and usually scores this way. Second thing is to look at the fixtures, and if they look promising, the player is good to pick. Now most of you might think that this is just one passing map, and sometimes there are change of tactics too. I usually check the maps from previous 3 to 4 fixtures to confirm the role, positions and involvement of a player. For this very reason, let's look at Maddison in another scenario. This is a game versus City and there is no Vardy in it. As Iheanacho plays up front, you can see that Mads is holding the attacking midfield. So this is how I identify and then further pick out players to transfer in, considering the form and fixtures too, alongside these stats and the maps. Sometimes you'll pick out a player and with everything right, he just won't return instantly. So bear in mind, sometimes the luck also plays a role. The point which I am trying to make here is that using these tips, you could always pick out great picks, but do not be disappointed if some of them do not return instantly. By now, most of you must be aware that these stats and figures that most YouTubers use are really helpful, and they will assist you in winning leagues against your mates too. So these were the tips I wanted to share with you all. The video is already a bit longer than usual, so I'll wind things up for now. If you have enjoyed the video, do like and share. You're always welcome to interact with me here and on Twitter, the link is given below. So this is it from my side, thank you all for watching.